Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event. In a calendar year, there is no single match more important in the wrestling industry than the main event of WrestleMania. No other match has more pressure on its shoulders to be the biggest draw of the year, to expand wrestling's mainstream influence, to blow the conch and assemble the biggest crowd of the year from every corner of the globe, and to be the exclamation point on a week-long celebration of the sport. Of course, when the match bombs, there's no bigger disappointment, no greater betrayal. Reigns versus Triple H, Cena versus Miz, Reigns versus Brock too, but that's not what this list is about. There's enough room for me to make my grumpy face and be a sarcastic b-hole every other month of the year, and don't worry, I will. But it's the road to WrestleMania, so let's celebrate by remembering those times the biggest match of the year lived up to the hype. I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the 10 greatest WrestleMania main events ever. Before we start the list, please like and subscribe to partsFUNknown. We appreciate it, and it helps if you subscribe to partsFUNknown. Okay, bye. Honorable mention, Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage, WrestleMania 5. Just want to mention this because it's an all-time great heel performance from Savage, teaching Kevin Owens how to do it with early match stalling, hiding behind Miss Elizabeth, crushing Hogan's throat with an axe handle from the top rope, and possibly the greatest elbow drop Savage has ever hit, which is saying something. Your appreciation for this one will vary depending on your tolerance for the Hulk up shtick, but it's everything a classic wrestling main event should be. The biggest hero versus the biggest villain, an uncomplicated story, very well told. Number 10, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 19. This might be a little low for some fans, specifically the kind that argue they actually prefer movies with subtitles because it makes the acting more raw. It's fine, you can head to the comments and tell me that WrestleMania 19 is better than X7. I respect your right to be wrong. To be clear, Mania 19 is very good, but it was a bit like an art house Mania before the fans were really ready for it. The main event is very indicative of that, objectively very good in places, but with a bit of disconnect from the fans throughout, giving it a sense that something was missing. Bork and Kirk would go on to have better matches, but there's definitely a lot of capital letters good wrestling here. Chain wrestling with accurate commentary from Taz is always fun. The German suplex into the turnbuckle, it's a juicy spot. Ditto Angle being backdropped into space over the top rope, and Adam loves a belly-to-belly overhead suplex. It makes his Percy Pringle tingle. The closing stretch is fun, especially with both men being exceptional near-fall kick-out artists. Just a shame that the biggest memory from this match is still Lesnar almost breaking his neck with a botched shooting star press. Number 9, Edge versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 24. Edge's upcoming triple threat with Jeff Farmer and Samoan Colgate will be the first time that Edge has main evented WrestleMania in 13 years. And if it's anything as good as the last time, we are in for a treat. In the main event of WrestleMania 24, the rated R per star wrestled Pyromania 24 for the World Heavyweight title in a wonderful showcase of steadily increasing wrestling silliness. Hello, Charles Robinson, diddly diddly dee. The match isn't perfect. It starts off quite slowly with some not very believable submission wrestling from Edge, but once it kicks up a gear, it stays there. Undertaker hits one of his only suicide dives that didn't make you want to eat your entire fist in anxiety. Edge repeatedly sneaks his way out of all of Taker's big moves, kicks out of the tombstone, and pulls off a legitimate streak-breaking false finish after spearing the dead man after a distraction from his disappointing sons. Also, that final spot is a beauty. Edge hitting one more spear, but the Phenom snatches him up in a Hell's Gate. It takes some time getting there, but the closing stretch is well worth the wait. Number 8, Hulk Hogan versus The Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 6. Some matches aren't very good, but become very good because everyone is having a nice time, and that becomes compelling in and of itself. Hulk Hogan was a professor of these kinds of matches. His match with Andre, his match with Rock, his match with Vince, all three probably had about 10 moves between them, and most of them were shoving, but all are fondly remembered. In that regard, the main event of Mania 6 against Ultimate Warrior is his masterpiece. There's almost nothing to it. Warrior does a thing, then Hogan does that same thing, then Hogan does a thing, then Warrior does that same thing. It's like if that mirror skip from Duck Soup was being performed by Ents, but everyone in Toronto fucking loved it so much that it's a really fun watch. Genuinely, Hogan getting out of a bear hug gets one of the biggest pops I've ever heard. What is going on? Also, huge personal pop for Earl Hebner eating shit from a Warrior shoulder tackle. Look at him fly. Born off the back of fan reaction alone, it genuinely feels like the titanic clash of two gods, albeit gods that do very silly crisscross spots. As much as it's fun to be contrary to WWE, it's actually way more fun to watch a match where WWE says you both like these guys, and people do. WWE says you're gonna be very excited about this, and people are. And WWE says this is monumental, and it is. Number 7, The Rock versus John Cena, WrestleMania 28, aka the DVD version of Hogan Warriors VHS. At Mania 18, Hogan evidently taught Rock everything he knew, because this is shoving and bear hugs the music physical, but the fans said, yes, please, I'll take 10. It's Hogan Warrior down to its bone marrow, except with more pomp and better close-ups of faces. I can understand people not liking this match. From an in-ring standpoint, it doesn't really hang together. It's great in bursts, but then the match pauses so that gassed off his Bean Rock can get his breath back. But again, it doesn't matter. For one night only, WWE transported Golden Era spectacle into the modern day, and the fans played along. They are thunderous throughout the Rock's "You Still Got It" sequence. Cena plays a bit more of a heel game, taking a breather to huge boos, playing up his frustration with amazing facials. The Rock going for the people's elbow, but being snatched into an STF attempt in the middle of a hard cam zooming out. That's a really nice touch. Then yeah, huge stars hitting huge moves. AA kick out, rock bottom, leg drop, people's elbow, another AA, and finally the really fun closing spot. It's basic stuff, but the hype carries it. The hype did not carry it a year later though. Oh goodness me. Number 6, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 31 does not really make sense. It shouldn't have worked. It should have absolutely crashed and burned considering the toxic road to WrestleMania, which began in middle finger flipping earnest at the Royal Rumble, sad trombone sound. Despite one of the worst builds of all time, Mania 31 turned out to be a legitimate top 3 all-time Mania, and nowhere was that more exemplified than in the main event. A lot of praise for this match rightfully spotlights the heist of the century, a piece of Hail Mary booking that turned a no-win situation into the hottest angle of the year. But the match ruled before the cash-in. See, in the build to the show, Brock Lesnar hadn't re-signed with WWE, so Roman being crowned king was seemingly inevitable. However, mere days before WrestleMania weekend, Brock re-signed, which made the possibility of him retaining a sudden escape route, which had the knock-on effect of turbocharging the Mania crowd into a pro-Brock, anti-Roman fervor, which made the match super compelling and super stressful to watch. Made all the more exciting by the fact that the two men beat the paint off each other. Physical, insanely exciting, with a genius twist in the tail. Number 5, Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista, WrestleMania 30. Sometimes the match doesn't matter. Sometimes all that matters is the result, and the match is all about killing time trying to convince us the result won't happen. After everything that Daniel Bryan and his fans had gone through on the road to WrestleMania 30, all that mattered was Bryan winning the belts, but goddamn did WWE have some fun in trying to convince us it wouldn't happen, leading to one of the most hand-wringingly, anxiety-inducing, air-punching matches in Mania history. It is all the fun of the fair. Bryan, whose idea of dressing fancy for Mania is sticking washing machine lint to his boots, love him so much. He kicks Randall and Dave, sticks a hammer up the nose of Triple H cosplaying as the Revival's dad, before the wonderful spot of the Batista bomb into the RKO that definitely hurts Randy more because he landed on a monitor, except he's not allowed to sell it, sorry mate. And then 2 beautifully cruel near falls where WWE fully hook you into thinking that Bryan's dreams are about to be McMahon handled. Batista kicks out of the RKO and then almost steals Bryan's pin after a running knee. Finally, Bryan wins, and not even Michael Cole can ruin the heart-burstingly wonderful moment, though he did his best. Number 4, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 23. Some people write this match off because it exists right at the height of the anti-Cena backlash and may not have rewatched it much, since knowing the outcome might dull that enthusiasm. This is a mistake. This match fucking bangs. Shawn Michaels has put together a Criterion collection of stunning Mania matches, and this is right up there with his best. He is an absolute savage in this match. The springboard moonsault onto the table, killing Mike Chioda stone dead with a super kick, sorry Michael, pile driving Cena onto the ring steps. He's amazing, which isn't to do Big Match John down. He more than holds his own here, decapitating Michaels with clotheslines. The two men have insane chemistry together, and later in the match is probably one of my favorite sequences in all of Mania history. Cena repeatedly tries to get Michaels in the STFU, but on the last attempt, Michaels switches it into an inside cradle smooth as fucking butter. It's such an intense match. Heck, even Jack Doan gets in on the action, near rugby tackling Cena out the STFU. You go, little man. Probably helps that the crowd were pretty much insane all the way throughout as well. It is an underrated classic. Number 3, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 20. Still one of the greatest triple threats in the history of wrestling, this, up there with Rollins, Cena, and Lesnar at the 2015 Rumble. Like that match, one of the reasons this match goes as hard as it does is all three men have completely different styles. Benoit's speed and focused gunshot viciousness mixed with HBK's acrobatic movement mixed with Triple H's raw power. Throughout the contest, you often get 2 guys wrestle a style of match before they're interrupted by the 3rd guy booming into frame to switch up the entire dynamic. That stretch of the match where it's just Michaels versus Benoit, tie your mother down. Trips and Shawn's endless blood-drenched odyssey that had stretched on and off for nearly 2 years had gotten a little stale. Yes, of course, both men bladed during this match. 2 DX boys will be boys. surprise, but Benoit's inclusion was a bolt of lightning, creating a wild, fresh matchup where everyone shined. That sweet chin music to Benoit while he's locking in the sharpshooter, bang! An exciting match that flies by with an emotional, if haunting, conclusion. Number 2, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 26. Oh man, it's tough to pick between the top two. In the end, I let crowd reaction decide the order, which isn't to say that fans weren't very appreciative for HBK Taker 2, but you'll understand when we get to number 1. Honestly, this match has it all. Star power out the bum, heartfelt, emotional set pieces, HBK's defiant last stand especially. It's got insane action. That moonsault from the turnbuckle to the announce table is one of the top 10 Mania spots ever. It's got crazy high stakes, consistent limb work with Michaels targeting Taker's leg throughout. Yeah, it's really great stuff. It's not my favorite announce team in the world. Cole, Lawler, and Stryker never really got along, and that hurt some moments, but otherwise, it is the best and most important feeling wrestling can get. That finish is so great. Shawn slapping Taker, who scoops him up for an Ultima Mega Death variant of the Tombstone to finally put HBK's career to rest. And number 1, Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania X7. On paper, it is the epitome of the perfect wrestling main event. Proven draw versus proven draw with the most important and best looking title in the business on the line. Austin Rock at Mania X7 is the perfect hybrid of golden era booking, smashing two unbeatable titans against each other with attitude era savagery and shock tactics. Everyone remembers the ending, beautifully sold on commentary by an all-time great announcement duo of JR and Heyman, but the match itself is unrelenting excitement from the bell. Both men bleed, both men clubber the hog mess off each other, and while Rock sells like a champ, this is Austin's story, and it's very cleverly seeded throughout. The look in Austin's eyes at the start, glimpsing the title like a red flag to a bull, immediately grabbing the belt and trying to cheat. It's right there, the first set piece. Attempt at the rock bottom, attempt at the stunner, then Austin takes us through a career retrospective, bleeding while in the sharpshooter, taking us back to his classic against Bret Hart at Mania 13. He locks in the $1 Million Dream, his original finish as the Ringmaster, a callback reference to the finish of Austin's Survivor Series 96 match with Bret, Mr. McMahon and his industry-defining relationship with Austin. Finally, after so many attempts, Austin gets the stunner, which gets an electrifying 2 count, which breaks Austin's mind, leading him to abandon everything and everyone who got him there, using endless, frenzied chair shots to finally pick up the 1, 2, 3. Amazing storytelling, performed in front of a rabid crowd that went nuts for every single move. What a match. And that's our list. What's your favorite WrestleMania main event? Let us know below. If you enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe to partsFUNknown for more great and silly wrestling content. Jam that jam.